Hey everyone, throughout history we've seen amazing things, advancements no one could have imagined. But we've also been faced with brutality, a violence that makes us question everything. It's like nature, right? There's prey and there's predator. Society also has its dark side, with crimes that shock the world and are etched in our memories. Today we're diving into that dark side, uncovering the details of crimes that made history. From unbelievable robberies to mysterious murders, going through acts of terrorism and genocide that changed the course of humanity. Get ready for an intense but necessary journey through the archives of crime. We're going to understand the human capacity for evil, but also the strength to overcome tragedies. August 1945. The world stood still, in shock, at the absurd power of the atomic bombs. War was already haunting Japan, but nothing could have prepared Hiroshima and Nagasaki for what was to come. On August 6th, an American plane dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, turning the city into a fiery inferno of destruction. 3 days later, Nagasaki experienced the same horror, marking the end of World War II, but at a very high price. Thousands of people died instantly, and countless others suffered from radiation. The survivors, forever scarred, faced an uncertain future. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not just the end of a war, but the beginning of an era of fear. An era in which the very survival of humanity seemed to be at stake. An ordinary autumn morning in 2001, and the world witnessed the unbelievable. New York City, a symbol of strength and prosperity, would be gripped by terror. At 8:46 a.m. local time, American Airlines Flight 11, bound for Los Angeles, struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. A gaping hole in the structure. Chaos was still unfolding when, just 17 minutes later, United Airlines Flight 175 hit the South Tower. The world watched in shock and disbelief as flames and smoke billowed from the buildings. TV showed everything live, firefighters and first responders rushing to help. But the worst was yet to come. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed. A short time later, at 10:28 a.m., the North Tower also came crashing down, forever changing the New York City skyline. World War II was a descent into darkness, but even amidst the chaos, some horrors stand out. The Holocaust, orchestrated by the Nazis, is an open wound in human history. Fueled by a sick ideology, they began an endless persecution, mainly against Jews, but also against other minorities. The Nazi machine, cold and efficient, went from segregation and discrimination to ghettos and finally, to concentration and extermination camps. In these camps of horror, human dignity was trampled. Men, women, and children living in inhumane conditions worked to death, subjected to cruel medical experiments, or simply murdered. Those who survived carried the scars of barbarity. The Holocaust is a chilling reminder of the fragility of civilization and what hate and intolerance can cause. It's a wound that never closes, demanding that we remember and reflect so that it never happens again. In 1963, Britain was still recovering from the war, in tough times. But then, an unbelievable robbery, the mail train, carrying a fortune, was the target. In the early hours of August 8th, a gang, led by criminal masterminds, took action. Railway signals were tampered with, staff were held up, and the train was stopped in a deserted location. It was like something out of a movie. The operation was swift and precise. The money, which would be worth a fortune today, vanished along with the robbers. The police conducted a massive manhunt, and some were eventually caught. But the mastermind and most of the loot were never found. The Great Train Robbery is legendary in British criminal history, inspiring movies, books, and countless theories. It's proof that audacity, a good plan, and a bit of mystery make for great stories. Columbine High School in Colorado was that symbol of America that believes in the future of its youth. But on April 20th, 1999, everything changed. The school became a symbol of tragedy. On an ordinary morning, 2 students, filled with hate and armed, unleashed terror. They mercilessly shot classmates and teachers, shocking the United States. The massacre lasted for hours, an eternity for those trapped inside, hiding, listening to the gunshots and screams. The world watched the news in disbelief. The Columbine tragedy sparked debates about violence, bullying, and the state of our youth. As the community mourned, they struggled to understand the inexplicable. Columbine was a tragic turning point, showing that evil can lurk anywhere, a wake-up call to address the root causes of violence and hate. Los Angeles, 1969. The City of Angels hid a dark side. In the midst of it all, Charles Manson, a disturbed individual with a frightening power of manipulation. Manson wasn't just any criminal, he was a cult leader. His followers, mostly fragile young people, fell for his words. Under Manson's control, the Manson family committed heinous crimes that shocked the world. The worst of them, the murder of actress Sharon Tate, who was pregnant, and her friends. The crimes, marked by cruelty and bizarre messages written in blood, shocked America and the world. The brutality of the murders and the coldness of the killers, who showed no regard for human life, left a mark on an era. Manson, who fancied himself a new messiah, believed the crimes would ignite a race war. The trial of Manson and his followers was a media circus. He turned the courtroom into a stage for his delusions. Even though he hadn't personally killed anyone, his control over the group was undeniable. Convicted of murder, Manson died in prison. His case is a study in the dangers of fanaticism and how charisma can be used for evil. In the late 19th century, London lived under a shadow of fear. In the dark alleys of Whitechapel, a predator lurked, Jack the Ripper. He wasn't just any killer. His crimes, brutal and vicious, terrified the city. His victims were marginalized women, forced onto the streets by poverty. The murders, filled with rage, exposed the dark underbelly of Victorian London and the vulnerability of these women. The police, despite their best efforts, were always one step behind, unable to crack the Ripper's puzzle as he vanished into the fog. The legend of Jack the Ripper was born from violence and mystery. Who was he? No one ever found out. Despite investigations, Jack the Ripper remains an enigma. His case reminds us that darkness can hide anywhere and that some mysteries may never be solved. Boston, Massachusetts, a cradle of history, culture, and the stage for one of the biggest art heists of all time. On the night of March 18, 1990, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, a place filled with treasures, was targeted in a daring plan. Clever thieves, dressed as police officers, infiltrated the museum. They tricked the guards, bypassed security, and vanished with priceless works of art. Among the 13 stolen works were paintings by Rembrandt and Vermeer, including the famous The Concert, one of the most expensive paintings ever stolen. The heist, planned down to the smallest detail, shocked the world. The empty frames, a reminder of the crime, became a symbol of the mystery. No one has ever found the thieves or the artwork. The case remains one of the art world's greatest mysteries, demonstrating that audacity and ambition know no bounds. The stolen works, which would be worth a fortune today, are a tremendous loss, both financially and culturally. Dallas, Texas. A sunny day that became a turning point in history. John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States, a symbol of hope, was assassinated. During a motorcade, shots rang out. The nation and the world were in shock. The young president, only 46 years old, had his life cut short. Kennedy's assassination didn't just take the life of a leader, it shook the United States to its core. The investigation and conspiracy theories only deepened the mystery. To this day, JFK's assassination remains one of the most debated events of the 20th century, a reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictability of history. Fortaleza in Ceará, known for its beaches and culture, also earned a place in criminal history. In the heart of the city, a group of criminals planned one of the most daring and unbelievable bank heists of all time. Their target, the heavily fortified vault of the central bank. With incredible determination, they dug a 78-meter tunnel. They went under the streets, bypassed sensors and reinforced walls, a feat of engineering. What happened next was pure audacity. The robbers entered the vault and made off with over 160 million reais. They left behind few clues and a story that seems too incredible to be true. And so ends our journey through the crimes that shocked the world. Each one, in its own way, left a mark on history. The September 11th attacks and the Holocaust exposed the human capacity for cruelty, forcing us to confront the dark side of our species. The Great Train Robbery and the Fortaleza Central Bank robbery, on the other hand, showcased audacity, planning, and ambition, challenging security and pushing the limits of what's possible. But in witnessing these crimes and their aftermath, we also see the strength of humanity, the pursuit of justice, and the desire to learn from the mistakes of the past to build a better future.